Singapore occupies 734 square kilometers. Smaller than New York City, no natural resources, no oil, no minerals, no agricultural land. Yet this tiny island nation controls one of the world's most critical economic choke points. And now, it's betting $20 billion on projects so ambitious that it's reshaping global shipping. They're building Tuas Mega Port, largest fully automated container terminal on planet. When complete in 2040, this single facility will process 65 million shipping containers annually. More than Shanghai, more than Rotterdam, more than any port currently operating. We're talking 1,337 hectares of operational area. That's bigger than 1,800 soccer fields. 26 kilometers of continuous wharf line. 66 berths capable of handling world's largest container ships simultaneously. And here's what makes this truly remarkable. Half the land didn't exist 15 years ago. Singapore literally created new territory from ocean floor to build this. But this isn't just about scale. This is about survival, because Singapore's entire economy depends on remaining essential to global trade. Miss this window, and Malaysia, Indonesia, or China could replace them as Asia's maritime hub. Build it successfully, and Singapore locks in dominance for next 50 years. Today, we're diving into how world's smallest country is constructing world's largest automated port. The engineering, the strategy, the gamble. Let's explore Tuas Mega Port. The crisis Singapore faced. Understanding Tuas requires understanding crisis that made it necessary. By 2010, Singapore faced existential problem. For decades, Singapore operated as world's busiest container port, crown jewel of maritime trade. But operations spread across 5 separate terminals: Tanjung Pagar, Keppel, Brani, Pasir Panjang, Sembawang. Each terminal built at different time, different technologies, different layouts, located across various parts of island. Some in city center, some on southern coast, some northwest. Problem? Containers frequently needed transfer between terminals. Ship arrives at Tanjung Pagar. Container destined for vessel docked at Pasir Panjang. Solution: load container onto truck. Drive across Singapore. Navigate city traffic. Deliver to other terminal. This inter-terminal trucking created massive inefficiencies, thousands of truck movements daily, clogging roads, creating pollution, wasting time. For countries selling itself on speed and efficiency, this was disaster. Average container turnaround time increasing, costs rising, competitors gaining ground. Making situation worse, terminal leases expiring. Tanjung Pagar, Keppel, and Brani terminals built on prime urban land. Leases ending 2027. Government faced choice: renew leases and continue inefficient scattered system, or consolidate everything into single mega facility. Meanwhile, shipping industry itself transforming. Container vessels getting exponentially larger. 2000, average container ship carried 3,000 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units. 2010, new vessels carrying 10,000 plus TEUs. 2015, ultra-large container vessels ULCV carrying 20,000 plus TEUs entering service. These megaships couldn't dock at older terminals. Infrastructure not designed for them. Draft requirements deeper. Berth space larger. Cranes taller. Singapore's existing terminals reaching physical limits and competition intensifying. Shanghai overtook Singapore as world's busiest port in 2010. Handling 29 million TEUs compared to Singapore's 28 million. Port Klang in Malaysia aggressively expanding. Tanjung Priok in Indonesia upgrading capacity. Even smaller regional ports like Lam Chabang in Thailand gaining market share. Singapore's advantages, efficiency, reliability, strategic location being challenged by newer, larger facilities elsewhere. Final pressure? Space constraints. Singapore, 734 square kilometers total land area. Already one of most densely populated countries. Every square meter precious. Competition between residential, commercial, industrial uses intense, keeping ports and city center increasingly untenable. Land values too high, traffic congestion too severe. But Singapore couldn't just abandon shipping. Maritime sector contributes 7% of GDP directly. supports 170,000 plus jobs. More importantly, Singapore's entire economy built around being trade hub. No shipping dominance, no strategic importance collects economic decline. Solution became clear: consolidate all container operations into single, purpose-built mega port. On reclaimed land, far from city center, using most advanced automation available. That solution is Tuas. The scale of Tuas, numbers alone tell impressive story. Final capacity, 65 million TEUs annually. Compared to Shanghai's current 47 million, Rotterdam's 15 million. Los Angeles Long Beach combined 20 million. Tuas will handle more containers than any existing port. Total land area, 1,337 hectares. Approximately 13.4 square kilometers. Compared to Singapore's existing port footprint, about 900 hectares scattered across 5 terminals. Tuas consolidates everything while expanding capacity by 85%. Wharf line, 26 kilometers continuous, allowing 66 berths, each berth capable of handling ultra-large container vessels ULCVs up to 24,002 capacity. These are ships 400 meters long, 59 meters wide, drawing 16 plus meters of water. Largest vessels currently sailing. Tuas designed specifically for them. But sheer size only part of story. How it's being built equally remarkable. Building on water. Tuas Mega Port constructed in 4 phases spanning 25 years. Phase 1, 2015-2021, started with nothing, just open water off Singapore's western coast. First task, land reclamation, creating 420 hectares of new land from seabed. Process begins with seawall construction. Massive 8.6-kilometer perimeter wall surrounding reclamation area. Wall built using 222 giant caissons. Largest caisson, 15,000 tons. Height, 28 meters, equivalent to 10-story building. Caissons are massive concrete boxes, fabricated on land, towed to position, sunk onto prepared seabed, filled with sand for stability. Why caissons instead of traditional pile-driven structures? Singapore's seabed, soft marine clay overlaying sand, not ideal for piling. Caissons distribute weight better. Once seawall complete, dredging begins. Hydraulic dredgers pump sand from offshore locations, spray into enclosed area behind seawall. Layer by layer, seabed rises, eventually reaching 5 meters above mean sea level. Why 5 meters? Protection against future sea level rise. Climate projections show 1-2 meter rise possible by 2100. Singapore building for century-long time frame. Reclaimed land then compacted. Stabilized. Prepared for construction. Simultaneously, sieved in berthing areas dredged deeper, creating 18-meter depth at low tide. Sufficient for largest container vessels fully loaded. Phase 1 delivered 21 berths, opened for operations June 2021. Even before fully complete, Tuas handled first container ship in December 2021. Began commercial operations 2022. Phase 2, 2019-2027, expands westward, adding 387 more hectares through additional reclamation, more seawall, more caissons, more dredging, plus construction of maintenance base. Centralized facility for repairing and maintaining all automated equipment. Phase 2 adds 23 additional berths, bringing total to 44. Phases 3 and 4, 2027-2040, final expansion completing southern and western sections, adding remaining 22 berths, reaching 66 total, completing all automation systems, full integration across entire terminal. By 2040, every existing Singapore container terminal closed, all operations consolidated at Tuas. Construction timeline seems lengthy, but scale justifies it. Creating this much land, installing this much infrastructure, integrating this much technology requires decades. And Singapore doing it while maintaining current port operations. No disruption to existing trade flows. Economic and environmental impact. Tuas represents massive economic commitment. Total investment approximately $20 billion across all 4 phases. Singapore's GDP, 400 plus billion, means Tuas costs 5% of annual economic output. For comparison, imagine United States spending $1.3 trillion on single infrastructure project. That scale of commitment shows how critical this is to Singapore's future. Economic benefits justify cost. Direct employment. Maritime Port Authority projects 5,000 plus new jobs created by 2025. Roles include fleet management specialists, AI system engineers, data analysts, logistics coordinators, maintenance technicians. While automation reduces manual labor, creates demand for high-skilled technical positions, higher wages, better career prospects, more sustainable employment. GDP contribution. Maritime sector currently 7% of Singapore's GDP, with Tuas expansion projected to grow to 9–10% by 2040. Additional $15–20 billion annual GDP contribution. Indirect economic activity. Ports generate enormous secondary economic activity. Shipping companies headquartering in Singapore. Maritime insurance providers. Ship supply companies. Logistics software developers. Financial services supporting trade. These industries employ 170,000 plus people. Generate additional GDP contribution beyond port operations themselves. Tuas strengthens Singapore's position as complete maritime ecosystem, not just port, but maritime capital. Environmental considerations. Ports traditionally major polluters. Diesel-powered equipment. Ship emissions. Energy consumption. Singapore designing Tuas as sustainable port. 50% of equipment fully electric. AGVs, cranes, cargo handling machinery, all battery-powered. Solar panels across buildings and covered areas, generating significant portion of electricity needs. Rainwater harvesting systems. LED lighting. Energy-efficient building design. Target: 50% reduction in carbon emissions compared to conventional port operations. Longer-term goal: net zero emissions by 2050. Requires continued technology advancement. But commitment stated clearly. Climate resilience also built in. 5-meter elevation protects against sea level rise projections. Seawalls designed for 100-year storm surge events. Drainage systems handling extreme rainfall intensified by climate change. Port infrastructure designed for a 100-plus year lifespan must withstand climate conditions we can't fully predict. Singapore planning for scenarios others ignore. The competitive landscape. Tuas doesn't exist in vacuum. Global competition for port dominance intensifying. Shanghai, China's massive port currently world's busiest. 47–50 million TEUs annually. Advantages: serves enormous Chinese manufacturing base. Government backing. Scale economies. Disadvantages: congestion issues, political risks. Geographically limited to serving East Asia. Tuas designed to exceed Shanghai's capacity. But competition not purely about volume. Singapore offers neutral hub, independent from any single country's political control. For multinational corporations, that neutrality, valuable, reduces geopolitical risks. Rotterdam, Europe's largest port, 15 million TEUs annually. Excellent railroad connections deep into European market. But European market growing slowly compared to Asia. Rotterdam important regional player. But not global competitor to Tuas. Dubai, Ali, Middle East's busiest port. 13–15 million TEUs. Strategic position between Asia, Europe, Africa. Heavy investment in free zones attracting companies. Legitimate competitor. But capacity significantly below Tuas's planned 65 million TEUs. Port Klang, regional rival just across strait from Singapore. Aggressive expansion. Lower costs. Government support. 13 million TEUs currently. Planning expansion to 30+ million. Legitimate threat. But infrastructure quality, efficiency, reliability lags Singapore. Shipping lines prefer Singapore despite slightly higher costs because cargo moves faster, more predictably. Key competitive advantages Tuas provides. 1. Capacity. 65 million TEUs dwarfs competitors. 2. Automation. Fastest turnaround times globally. 3. Consolidation. Single facility versus scattered terminals. 4. Location. Impossible to replicate geographic advantage. 5-point reliability. Singapore's track record of operational excellence. 6-point supporting ecosystem, maritime services, insurance, logistics, all based in Singapore. Competition exists, but Singapore's combination of advantages difficult to match. Risks and challenges. Tuas bold bet. But not without risks. Technology risk. Automation at this scale never attempted. What if systems fail? What if AI optimization doesn't work as predicted? Single software bug could disrupt operations affecting global supply chains. Cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Automated systems potential target for hackers. Cost overrun. $20 billion estimate assumes smooth construction, no major delays, no technological setbacks. History of mega projects suggests overruns common. Actual cost could exceed $25–30 billion. Demand risk. Tuas designed for 65 million TEUs. But what if demand doesn't materialize? Global trade patterns changing. Nearshoring. Deglobalization trends. COVID-19 demonstrated supply chain vulnerability. Companies reconsidering just-in-time inventory models. If containerized trade growth slows, Tuas could have overcapacity. Competitive risk. Other ports not standing still. Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand all investing heavily. Technology advantages temporary. Competitors can copy automation. Geographic advantage endures, but others closing gap in efficiency. Political risk. Singapore's stability cornerstone of success. But geopolitics increasingly unstable. US-China tensions. Regional conflicts. Trade wars. Any major disruption to global trade patterns affects Singapore disproportionately. Environmental risk. Climate change creating unpredictable weather patterns. More intense typhoons. Rising seas. Extreme rainfall. Infrastructure built to withstand projected conditions. But projections could be wrong. All these risks real. Singapore aware of them. But alternative, doing nothing, guarantees decline. Competitors would capture market share. Singapore's strategic importance would diminish. Economic prosperity dependent on remaining essential would erode. Tuas represents calculated risk. But inaction represents certain failure. Singapore, 734 square kilometers, 5.6 million people, no natural resources, yet building world's largest automated port, $20 billion commitment spanning 25 years, Tuas Mega Port when complete in 2040, 65 million TEU capacity, 66 berths, 1,337 hectares of operational area, more automated than any port currently operating. More efficient, more sustainable. But this isn't just engineering achievement, this is survival strategy. Singapore's entire economic model depends on remaining essential to global trade. For 2 centuries, strategic location at Malacca Strait created wealth. But location alone insufficient in modern era. Must combine with world-class infrastructure. Operational excellence, technological leadership, competitors emerging everywhere. Malaysia, Indonesia, China, all building massive ports. Singapore's response? Go bigger, go more advanced. Consolidate everything into single, unbeatable facility. Tuas represents that ambition made concrete. Literally, hundreds of thousands of tons of concrete creating new land from ocean. Will it work? Phase 1 already operational since 2022. Handling millions of containers annually. Automation performing as designed, shipping lines committing long-term contracts. Attracted by speed, efficiency, reliability, evidence suggests yes, this will work. But true test comes 2040. When all terminals closed. When Tuas handles everything. When 65 million containers flowing through single facility annually. If successful, Singapore locks in position as global maritime capital for next 50 years. If it fails, Singapore faces existential economic crisis. No middle ground, all or nothing bet. That's what makes Tuas fascinating. Watching small nations stake entire future on single mega project. Audacious, ambitious, possibly brilliant, possibly disastrous, but undeniably Singapore's vision, never accept decline. Always plan ahead. Execute flawlessly. Tuas Megaport embodies that vision completely. By 2040, we'll know if the bet paid off, one container at a time, one berth at a time, one phase at a time. Building future of global trade on reclaimed land off Singapore's western coast.